Hello and welcome to just making sure it loads, and welcome to the ABA Progs for 2037 season. We've had a pretty weird free agency, and now people should be loading in. Just give them 1 second. We're at the live stream here. Are you guys all in and able to see me?
Yes, I am able to see you.
Alright, you are aware you're on the live stream right now. Alright.
Loading, T1.
Great. Alright, so people are, of course, waiting. At Ocean Man, if you can confirm and then ping out to everyone that you can see me and everything is going okay, and then we will get everything going. If you just want to send that out to people, and then we will get this show on the road. But anyway, with that, guys, I'm just going to wait for Ocean's confirmation and then we'll get going here. Looks like more of you guys are loading in. Cool. So, yeah, it looks like people are now starting to load in pretty good. Alright. So, you guys kind of know how this works. Basically, real quick, I'm just going to create an export backup of where we are so people can check it if they want. And now I'm going to go to multi-team mode here, and I'm going to Prog. Here we go. You guys might notice a little bit faster. New computer definitely picks it up a lot better, and BBGM soars like that. Old computer was kind of starting to struggle, which is weird because it was a pretty good computer, but 4 years old and suffered some physical damage. So, yeah. With that here, do you guys want to start? If the chat wants to let me know here if you want to start at A or W. I kind of am leaning going W this time. No reason in particular, but I'll give you guys a few seconds to decide that. Oh, do I sound like a robot, people? Oh boy. Hopefully I don't sound too robot-y here. Just waiting for confirmation on that. Okay. Sounds like we're good. Super echo? Alright, I can change that. I just need to adjust my input volume. I can fix that. Alright, 1 second, I'm just adjusting my mics for you guys. Sorry about that. They were telling me that my mics are now a little bit bugged, so I'm just adjusting the audio. I think I figured out what it is, guys. Apologies for that. I forgot to mute my second audio input. Literally, OBS just had a default audio input. Alright, this should be better. If you guys want to let me know. Unfortunately, it might cut out periodically. So let me know if it's cutting out real quick. Yeah? Better? Alright. Just waiting for confirmation right now. Yeah, audio is good now. Cool, we are good to go. All right. So, with that, let's get this show on the road. Are you guys hyped? I'm pretty hyped. You might notice I'm up here now, here on the live stream, instead of in the bottom corner. We're going to try this out for Progs, and if you all like it, we'll keep it like this. Got some concerns regarding your ability to see everything. Do you guys want to let me know? Is this a better angle for my camera, and is this better for the screen overlay rather than having the colored sidebars? You also might notice slightly different background. I've literally just rotated where my laptop is, but now you can see, trying to figure out, yeah, right there, that one, is actually my girlfriend had Baby Yoda made, just as a painting, so we have some wall art, and then we also got right there Celtics poster that was previously like the only thing you could see in the background, and then my chair is the only other thing. So what do you guys think of that? Yeah, with that, we'll just go into Progs here. Sorry, minor sidetrack, Baby Yoda, you know. All right. First, we'll take a look at Wisconsin here. So Adam McGillen goes down. The incredibly low PER, but potentially really solid player, Kotov, is only 27, and now he's progging up. So that's definitely a nice pickup for them. Brandon Guillen, though, the big victory, progs up big time. Vontae Jackson, in my head, Vontae is basically like Kendrick Nunn. And they have a really solid core there. Emmanuel King is not living up to his, I think it was first or second pick in a draft. Nowhere near that potential. Phoenix Lim progging up is good, but his potential does go down. Honestly, I'm pretty, I guess you'd say, bullish about this team. Guillen, Vontae, Hawthorne were all good moves, but they didn't play Hawthorne much, if at all, last season, which I was a little surprised by. But overall, I'm pretty confident in this team's long-term success. I think that this season they could make a push for the bottom tier of the playoffs. With that, we will go over to Winnipeg here. E.J. Peterson, the man, the legend, progging up big time. Damian Fadev denying father time. But their supporting cast gets a little worse. Morgan Barber goes down. Austin Hamilton with a horrid -8 potential prog. He is now an albatross contract. Look at that. From good deal to bust. That's a rough loss, but he's still going to be an effective starter. They get a little deeper thanks to Josh Daniels. Lavelle Watson was an underrated move in the offseason for them. J.D. Bell is still going to be part of their rotation, and they get strong play from Ricardo Davis and Julian Clarkson, who's still a solid starting caliber player. That's insane. This dude's just been a quality starter his entire career. In addition, Vortex continues to not live up to his once thought to be MVP potential. He has kind of Steve Riced it, but probably burned a little bit brighter post starting to go down, whereas Steve Rice kind of just fell off the wagon entirely. David West probably won't play like an all-star this season, so this is really E.J. Peterson's team. Also, J.J. Redick pick, not looking too bad, folks. I told you, wasn't that bad, but you didn't believe me. You said that was a bad pick. And, nah, I'm going to defy odds. Alright, looking at the Washington Bullets here, Greg Oden stays the same, not Greg Oden, Josh Howard stays the same, but the primary starters on the team go down. They got great progs from D-Train, who's starting to show some promise, and Todd Maskell, who probably had their best progs on the team. Honestly, from a prospect standpoint, they saw Ryan Adams and Ethan Cooley go down. Adams has been a rough contract, but they're almost through it, and there will be light at the end of the tunnel. This is probably going to be another bottom of the East finish for the team, despite their fairly high 52 team rating. They just don't have any real stars. I would predict around 30 wins for this team. Looking at Vancouver, Bill Russell goes down big time after signing a big deal. Frankly, this team has a lot of money invested in players that the league's starting to move around for. We're seeing a lot more of the dynamic two-guard sets and like the small ball, which is weird, but we're starting to transition to that kind of era. And players like Bill Russell and Gilmore are a little bit more times of the early McGillen days where the dominating big man ruled the league. Thunderbird Lawrence continuing to decline. This might not be a great season for this team. Progs were not particularly helpful. The only good thing is Ray Grubb progged up pretty good and is on a really team-friendly deal. He could be traded for a decent value. They saw Noah Lloyd go down, and a lot of their prospects like Victor Chamberlain going down, Kenyon Laurinaitis going down. This is going to be a rebuilding season, but they have a lot of assets to move potentially this season. So we'll see. I'd predict they're going to start falling out of playoff contention maybe be a 9th, 12th seed unless they make some moves. And if I'm them, I blow it up. That's where I honestly am. Taking a look at Utah here. Gilgy stays the same, but Petrie goes down, Gady goes down. They're almost out of Gady's contract. They're so close. Kamen stays the same, which is nice, and the Petrie decline wasn't too bad. And they got some good progs from their supporting cast. They also have cap room to spend. They're a team that could be a player in this free agency, like this Wave 3 free agency we're about to do. And they could be a big player in that. They're definitely searching for a true small forward. But Gilgy could play there, I suppose. Actually, yeah, they got a small forward. They need a shooting guard. Johnny Hamilton is not the answer, or is Petrie. That's my bad on that one. Gaddy will be at small forward, I imagine. Unfortunately, that albatross contract. Ugh. Toronto. Wow. They are back in business. Chris Paul, 72 overall at 21. That is insane. And he's a two-way player. He might be one of the best point guards in the league this season. Most improved player for sure. Guillen progging up as well. He's a good fit with Chris Paul. I really like him. He actually kind of has a similar skill set to Jervis Vasquez, who played with Chris Paul, but he's kind of exceeded that. And I think Guillen was cut earlier in his career, actually. Let me take a look at that. I think he was cut. No, he wasn't cut. Damn, it was one of the other ones. His two brothers named Michael. What the heck? Who names two of their kids Michael? George Gervin goes down. That's rough. But Jameer Jellick going up big time. This team's going to be a little bit better than you'd expect. Unfortunately, their power forwards that I expected to have big roles on the team all went down. Trey Bricks also went down, but frankly, he's a lot better than I expected him to be playing on a two-way deal with them. You gotta like Progs if you're them. I mean, look at this pair right there. I mean, the big improvement from Chris Paul. He could have an insane season. He's basically in a vacuum. Where was his improvement mostly? He went up, holy shit, 99 DIQ. He's going to average like 6 steals a game. Wow. Plus 18. Oh my god. That might be one of the highest I've ever seen. Absolutely insane luck for Toronto. Tijuana, meanwhile, they have become a really well-rounded team the last few years. Tyler O'Grady becoming maybe that franchise center that they wanted. I think he was a late-round pick, too. Yeah, he was the 25th overall pick. Fairly late in the first round, like midway through there. And they're a really well-rounded team with a potential superstar coming in. You know, you look for them to build around him, and this team could actually be pretty strong. It depends. Let's see. Is everything in the stream going good so far, guys? It looks like it. Just making sure. Somebody mentioned Chris Paul is not a cap. That is not Chris Paul Jr. Chris Paul Jr. is a cap on a different team. Chris Paul, no relation, is the guy that went up big time. So he's a non-cap auto-gen player. Or I guess I technically created him as one of the prospects. But either way, Tijuana has a lot of potential this season. It's a borderline playoff team, but their long-term prospects are very bright. Tampa Bay. These are not the Progs you wanted as Tampa Bay. Max Powers goes down, Jaden goes down, Marcus Green goes down, Kinney goes down, Chunky goes down, John Lee does not go up. Their bench gets killed with Derek Jones, Ty Jackson, the abandoned Ken Kanaki, all going down. That's disaster Progs, really. Andre Curtis comes crashing down. Yeah, that's rough. All right. Next, Syracuse. So Syracuse had a big offseason. They added Stonkus and Bonner. This might be the best Syracuse team we've seen in a while. Sullivan, Moody, also going to play big roles on the team. Hinton's still a starting caliber small forward. This might be a GM of the Year season for Ricky too. That's what we have 2 Rickies now. That's great. Honestly, they had a strong prog poll going up as well. The big thing is you knew you were bringing in these older guys. For them not to go down and for you to get a great prog off your bench, they had a great offseason. They're a contender now, like a legitimate contender. I think they could potentially win 50 games in the East maybe this season. Maybe I would say 46 to 48 is my prediction for them. But they got to be happy with this. All right. So next up here, we go Snohomish. So you got Cottrell Ellis. He goes down. Maven down. Mama down. That's rough. Their stars went down. But Luke Ross has now become a star small forward, which isn't really what they needed. They need a point guard. I suppose Bobbitt could work. This was honestly a rough offseason for them. In addition to losing their star point guard, they don't really got one. I feel like now's a great time for us to take a look at free agency, because with $15 million, they could be one of the big players there. Point guard Chris Gordon, I mean, that seems like a layup of a deal right there. Point guard, perfect fit, but potentially they could go after Schrempf. I don't think Justin Williams will be their target. I mean, looking at other guys out here, Mike Millsap is probably one of the more obvious ones. Bennett is a pretty solid player. Progs for these guys weren't too rough. Millsap and Gordon both went up a decent amount. Quality starters and Schrempf and Hazard. Devontae Johnson might have a lot of value this season. Pretense Courtney is still potentially a quality player, and if a team's looking for a scoring big man, Shot Put's got to be one of the guys you'd go for. I know he progged down, but he could land on a lower tier team where he gets a starting opportunity and put up like 16 to 18 points per game this season, which would be a really nice pickup for one of them. David Peters could have value as a point guard. AK-47 is now at center. That's strange. Honestly, there's a lot of options out there. There's a fairly deep free agency. Tim Kramer and Doc Thomas have gone down a lot the last few seasons. That's a little disappointing. But we'll see. There's also a lot of guys with nicknames, and everyone wants to sign the guys with nicknames, obviously. So we'll see how that goes. But with that, we'll go on to the next team here, which is Seattle. Seattle's in a bit of a rebuilding spot, but I'm pretty excited to see how GM Priest Gabe does with Dante Johnson here. He progs up. Holy shit. Let's be honest. If he busts, it's going to be a shock. All my test sims he busts. But, of course, he progs up 9 here. Well worth the first overall pick. They got to be pretty happy with that. They have a point guard to run with him, too, so that he won't struggle with just efficiency there. He'll have a really solid cast around him. While I'd probably start Talish Smith, if I'm being honest, over some of the other guys. Especially, I like him a lot more than Pierce from a defensive standpoint. But if I'm them, I'm pretty excited about this team. This was phenomenal progs. They have a lot of prospects here. Looking at Austin Jones and Dill progging up. David Franks now has value. Yeah, they had a strong offseason. And if I'm them, I'm really happy about these progs. I don't think they're making the playoffs this year. But Dante Robinson, probably Rookie of the Year. We'll see. Jolly Green on Paris. That could be another possibility. Wow, Colton Nicholas has joined the star ranks. He had a breakout year last year. I'm sure Ricky 1 misses having him, but San Francisco is certainly enjoying it. They aren't enjoying Zion Chajeas, who is now one of the worst contracts in the league. He did play well his first season with them, but frankly, he's that star that doesn't quite get you over the hump, so they're just a middle-of-the-road playoff team. DJ Manners is showing potential, but his contract's ending this season. They might be in a pretty rough spot there. I don't see a point guard, like a true point guard outside of Manners on their team, so they really are thin at guard here. I suppose Juana Davis is a decent shooting guard. Maybe Michael Nelson plays a bit. They might need to make a move for a point guard. I think they were hoping for better Progs from Bowles, who long-term has some potential there, but we'll see. They're going to be a middle-of-the-road playoff team, but Cole Nicholas might be a big player in the league now, maybe top 10 overall. We'll see. Taking a look at San Diego here, Yaris Sorkin goes up, but the crash from Phil Riley, you knew it was going to happen eventually, but you hate to see it. Phil Riley's had a pretty strange career. He was, I believe he was traded from Seattle, went to San Francisco, where he became one of the more underrated two-way players. He was in some of the borderline playoff teams as a really solid two-way player, then was there for the rebuild. Then he went to Boston in kind of like a forgotten time period where he kind of broke out overall but didn't play very well. Then had a great year in Dallas, his best statistical year, but seemed to be defying age. He gets paid again. This is now his second or third big deal. But he declines pretty hard here. San Diego, they're going to be right out on the playoff race, but I don't think they'll quite make it. I think they're going to be like a 39-40 win team next season. A little disappointing Progs, but really mostly getting hit on veterans, not getting hit too much on young players. They got some good prospects. They just don't have much that's too exciting. OJ Mayo, unfortunately, going down along with Eric, but we'll see what Jay Daudio and King Lizard do to improve San Diego's future. Next up here, we got Rio de Janeiro. Wow. Frankly, these are incredibly good Progs. They have almost $50 million in cap space. They are probably in the top 4 or 5 teams now in the West. Especially with Hawaii going down, that 4th spot might be open for a bye week. Slenderman finally living up to his potential. Incredibly high PER. Let's see where that was mostly distributed. Unfortunately, his threes aren't as good as they used to be, but he's a much more rounded player, and that endurance is getting up there. We could see a return to form, potentially with him maybe putting up 30 points again. And with that, this team could be great. Billy Howell becoming a really good co-star for him, and it looks like they have a future franchise point guard now. Honestly, they got to be super excited about this. Jaeger goes up big time as well. Unfortunately, they have a lot of guys in contract years here. I mean, look at that. That's going to hit pretty hard. But, they could be really good. And, of course, Jay Spivey has his own cap sitting there at the bottom there. And one of the Michael Guillans. So we'll see how that goes. And I've skipped a team. Providence. London Holton. Wow. Ricky gets these great Progs. Devadas Adamantias. Only a 7% chance at him returning. Only a 2% chance at him. Ricky always getting screwed over in some form or fashion, unfortunately. But this is a pretty solid team. They don't really have a true big man other than Admontanis, who's more of like a small forward, power forward type of guy. Maybe Huddleston will play some big man. So it's going to be interesting to see another small ball team here. But Holton could potentially become the franchise centerpiece, but they may have to move him. Frankly, if I'm Ricky, this isn't that bad a position. You got a lot going for you, especially cap-wise. You're not too far out of the playoff race. I make some moves, particularly I try to maximize Holton. You can trade him for a ton. You can trade some of your other pieces, guys like Huddleston and Admontanis. I hope I pronounced that right. And you can trade them, and you can come out of it getting, even maybe Slicktree getting traded to a contender that needs a point guard. Just saying. Slicktree to Snohomish, I can see him putting up like 14 assists there. And Ricky can capitalize on these guys' values and take on bad contracts to get tons and tons of picks. And he has a lot of young prospects on his bench to build around. Steve Robinson, Ryan Bing, I guess he's expiring. But, you got options here, Ricky. So I wouldn't be too upset if I'm Ricky, despite bad progs from a lot of your bench. Taking a look at Pittsburgh here, looking like they had really good progs. Irfan becoming a true defensive beast. Stu Morris goes up big time. Ricky Tulte went up a decent amount. Dahl went up. You didn't get that bad a regression from Yao Ming. I'd be pretty happy with this team. Unfortunately, the Gardner does once again go down, along with Ramin, but this team has a lot of potential, and they also have a lot of cap space. Guys that they could look for in free agency here, taking a look once again, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a big player in the Chris Gordon sweepstakes. They can offer him a big role. I thought he was more of a power forward. Yeah, he's 6'10". He's really more of a power forward, guys. He just has insanely high dribbling. But yeah, they could do a lot of things with this team, and they're borderline playoffs in the East, frankly. Next up here, we got Paris. Jolly Green Giant goes down. You hate to see it for Goose, but it happens, DD goes down. Prince Smith goes down even more. One of the worst contracts in the league. Oh, that contract is painful to see. Stanley Calvin goes down. Honestly, this is horrible Progs for Goose. You hate to see it. They're probably still out of the playoff race here. Unfortunately, Britt goes down, but McGinnis maybe has some value saved as a scoring big off the bench now. Maybe kind of like a poor man's Brian Sampson. Technically, he's a better rebounder than Sampson. The only good prog here is Pierce and Vanderbecken both went up, but man, he got hit hard, especially the bench and his prospects. You hate to see it. Next up here, we got New York Nets. Bill Murray going up, still in that big contract, and another small ball team, really. This team is going to be bad. Quite bad. I mean, their bench is thin and bad. Their starters are borderline competent for another season, and it's small ball. I don't see this is going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Another small ball lost. Taking a look at New Jersey here, they got Dollar Price progging up. David Rushnia progging up. This is a scary front court defensively and rebounding wise, with guys like Bill Walton, Waleed Nazar off the bench. They're just a good guard away from being a really dangerous team. Basura, Curry Jackson, this is a strong team up front. This is the ultimate oversized team, the oversized ball, so to speak. So anyway, we're about halfway done. How do you guys think this is going? Are you guys enjoying it? Are you guys having a good time? Is this stream going well? Yeah? Let me know. In the comment section. I see we're actually super active down there, and I really appreciate it. Again, tell me what you think about the format, and I see in the comments here, and I'll mention it. I think the entire ABA community wishes Dane Mason, longtime GM, the first GM, one of the first I recruited, and I just want to say congratulations on passing the bar. That is absolutely awesome, dude. Yeah. So, with that, we will go up in here next. Next team is Montreal. Taking a look here. LeBron goes down. We're all rooting against him just like we are in real life. Hawkins also goes down. Montreal dynasty may be over. Oh, wait. No, says Progs. Of course, boosting a bunch of young players so this team will remain a top 4 team in the East for another decade to come. You just absolutely hate to see it. Wow, Progs really getting them on the youth movement, they probably won't win this season, but they have another decade coming. So I'm sure Grievous is real sad about that. Taking a look at Minnesota. Right? We all want them to go down. Everyone here does. They even are over the cap and need to remedy that. But they'll get to that. Crate Progs from way too many players to make me happy. Especially Sawyer Howell. Fortunately, though, their caps go down, including Axel Blaze dropping below 80. We might be down to 180 or maybe 080s. We'll see. Does David McGillen stay above? Coming up literally next, I think. Danson Williams going up pretty big is a good win for them. Icon Parks goes up. They traded Homer Simpson to Mexico. We'll see if that trade ended up working out. He's a 56-67. And Wally Craig goes up significantly. Honestly, Exandru probably should win GM of the Year every year. I told Hugh when we got Exandru, I was like, wow, we just got one of the best, most active, competitive GMs in BBGM. And he was like, yep, huge win. Unfortunately, huge win turned sour, but I mean, not like sour in a bad way. I get depends on who you are. Phenomenal GM, though, and this is going to be probably the favorite to win the title this year. I mean, definitely the favorite. Next up here, Milwaukee. Oh, damn, interrupted. All right, McDowell Progs up. Unfortunately, their platoon of a big man has failed. I thought that was an interesting strategy, but they brought in a bunch of guys that could maybe join Noel Childs up front, and every guy they brought in busted, except for Russell Collins. Oh, that's rough. From a guard standpoint, they're kind of running, I guess, a little small ball. David Jackson's a little undersized, but frankly, this is a rebuilding team, and they expect them to play like a rebuilding team that landed a superstar. Like, that superstar might put up insane numbers. He might be a 20-10 guy, but frankly, I think McDowell is a guy that makes his teammates better. So you might see strong resurgent seasons from Ginn, Collins, and if they bring in somebody. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if they move Cook back to small forward. The dude was a natural scoring small forward with Cincy back in the olden days, way back when. And they could return him to form back to when he was a really solid 17 or so point per game scorer at small forward. And yeah, I wouldn't be too upset if I was them, despite him going down. Milwaukee, they're in the rebuilding stage. So it is what it is. Looking at Miami here, they got older. They moved Manning, unfortunately. They landed Darnell Brown and Jake King. They have a lot of cap space to work with. This is an old team. I mean, insanely old team. But we'll see how they do this season. Frankly, I think they're a playoff team, but I don't think they're top 3 in the East anymore. I suppose only time will tell, but I think they're like a mid-lane playoff team that's going to have very high PER, but definitely needs to upgrade that bench because, man, they're old, and you need to compensate for the declining endurance. Mexico. Wow, we still haven't gotten to Melbourne. I really do not know how many teams are in this league. Bruno Kendrick stays the same. Homer Simpson goes down. That's unfortunate. Allen Iverson goes down. Sam Eustace goes down. But this is a really strong team. I'm a big fan of how they built this team. I think they're definitely a playoff team in the West. Probably in the 6th, 7th range. But they're definitely a team that could make a run. Bruno Kendrick and AI are a incredibly dangerous backcourt. Homer Simpson is an absolutely phenomenal defender. I really like the way this team is going. Bruno Kendrick could have an insane season with Eustace, Simpson, and Iverson. All really good fits for him. And, man, look at that defensive skills right there. Look for them to be a big player on trades. They have some cap to work with, and they also can move a guy like Chadrick Morrison. That was a good signing. The reason that was a good signing is because it's an expiring 1-year deal, but it's sizable enough to move. So they'd be able to move him and say like a Steve Brown with maybe a prospect like Alex Jackson. And they'd be able to get a legitimate star without really having to make too many moves. Cap-wise, they could get like a $20 million plus player. Maybe include a Burnett if they wanted to. But we'll see. This team is in a pretty good spot. Next here we got Melbourne. David McGillen stays the same. Alright, that is no surprise. Michael Jordan goes up. Still more of a defensive specialist though. Actually, he's kind of transitioning into a playmaker. That's pretty cool. Yeah, he was originally supposed to be a great scorer, but his scoring has literally dipped every year since his sophomore season. Every single season. Granted, his assists did go up to 5.2 his last season in Toronto, but he's bounced around a little bit since then. We'll see how his career goes from here. Maybe he becomes the co-star that they needed for McGillen, because Luka Hughes has just gone straight down since they brought him in. Taking a look, Apex Penny, kind of minor resurgence, but a lot of their bench going down. They have cap space. I wouldn't be too worried. They're definitely going to sign the other McGillens to the team if they can. And once again, because this team has David McGillen, they're a playoff series away from a championship. You know how it is. But I'd take Minnesota over them right now. And McGillen down to 82% here. If they don't win the chip, maybe that goes down a little further. Los Angeles Defenders. he got next. What else can I say? Probably the next greatest superstar in the league. Maybe CP3 has usurped that title this year, but we'll see. Thomas Light, 69-78, the franchise centerpiece here, entering his contract year. He's going to put up insane stats. This is another small ball team. Granted, I really like the way this team went small ball. They took the weird approach of taking an undersized, athletic small forward in Quinn Graham. He's going to be their power forward. Undersized power forward that really should be a small forward but plays bigger than his size. Gary Robinson will play center. That's a really smart move. And from a guard standpoint, Kuzminskas is a perfectly sized small forward. Dean's a perfectly sized shooting guard. So they're good there. And with Shamel now off the bench potentially, this could be a really strong team. I don't know how deep they'll go in the playoffs, but I'd say they're probably going to enter that 4 seed in the West. And I'd be pretty happy with Creator if I was him. I like those Progs. Next up here, we got Kadashi. Kadashi's team, the Las Vegas Silver Bandits, now is basically Austin Warner's team. They have some cap space. They made some sizable moves in the offseason, especially adding the depth here. But some bad Progs not helping them too much. And they're still very thin at point guard. Fortunately, this is a point guard market. I could see a guy like Millsap coming into this team, especially with Noel coming off of an injury. Millsap proved he was a really solid starter in Denver on some good playoff teams and would be a good fit on this team. If I'm them, that's my number one target with that $20 million they got, or $19.1 million. In fact, I probably will see that offer come in very soon. So next up here, we will move on to Kentucky. Maurice Hogan progging up, but Moon progging down. Owens stays the same. I like that Owens move. It was a really strong move. But they really don't got much for big men. If I'm them, I start Gus Baker, Maybe he works out this season for them. Last season, he only was with them for the end of the season. 17 games, including 4 starts. And he had 10 points per game, 7.6 rebounds per game. That's kind of what he's been averaging the last few seasons. Just last season. Prior to that, he was a pretty big star on some really good Vancouver teams. He doesn't really fit with the new direction the league's going, especially as a poor three-point shooting, sub 34%, low field goal percentage, just 47% big man, and his rebounds are no longer at the godly totals they were when he was a rookie. But I think he could be a really solid big man for the small ball team. And Rob Moon isn't that small, nor is Hogan or even Owens, so it's not really a true small ball team if they run with him. Next up here, Kansas City Kings. They had a great offseason. They added Silver. Why does this always happen to Fan? Kansas City's just cursed. So Silver progs down and Warner progs down. They're 2 big offseason additions. Fortunately, John Litmus Mitchell progged up big time and has now become that 5th starter that they needed, that really good small forward. They are a small ball team. They don't really have a big man currently, but again, there's a lot of small ball teams right now. I don't know if they really needed that. They're well-rounded. Kurt Anthony can play kind of big. He's more of a small forward, power forward guy. Silver is more of a small forward guy, and McNamara is really more of a small forward shooting guard guy. But I think they'll be fine, and this is definitely going to be a playoff team this year. That is my big prediction for them. Make the playoffs. Come on, man. Just do it. All right. Next up here, we got Jacksonville, Ben Darling's team, and they are in the shitter. Yep. They got a good prod from Tobias. That's about it. Not much else to say there. Natrell Pitts going down big time after they gave him a sizable contract. Ben Darling completely busting on that deal. Jackie Moore going down. Rebuild time in Jacksonville. Hawaii, they lost Penetrator. Absolutely horrid. Cunningham actually announced his retirement. Another loss for that team. Got to add that in. I also might need to add one other retirement. Stanley Hudson also retired. I don't know if he's in the export yet. 69 overall team rank. Nice. Justin Taylor goes down, but Stokes and Jacobs, that's one of the best front courts in the league. It might actually, the fact that they have their best front court they've had while he's been there might hurt Scarn's rebounds, but the man might put up 20 and 10. like 20 and 10 assists. He's now the team's primary guard. But as the penetrator said in his post-leaving Hawaii interview, they are like the Rockets. They are like Houston. They just couldn't quite get over the hump. Their front court is phenomenal this season, but now it's their backcourt that's suffering. They really only got Skarn. Fortunately, this is a point guard's market. Also, fortunately, they got almost $50 million in cap space. Look for G-Man to do some G-Man things. Not government things. G-Man as in G-Man, the GM. Now we're at Flint. I gotta fix that logo. That is peeving me. I think that's the only one I've seen so far. I gotta fix that background. Somebody write that down. I see you in the comments. Somebody write that down. Oh, did we crash? Ooh, I think we might have crashed. 1 second. I'm just checking. No, okay, we didn't crash. For some reason on my end, all of a sudden the viewer count hit 0. And which I'm sure didn't happen, but on my end it did. Cool. Sorry about that, guys. Apologies for the interruption there. Live stream things, you know? Alright, taking a look back at Flint here. I gotta change that logo. Somebody put that in the comments for me. Granted, I might not even read the comments, unfortunately. Because, you know, reasons. Alright, this was a pretty mixed bag for them. Zegler progged up big time. He could have sizable value, but he is in a contract year. Might be one of the big pieces to move, especially because, you know, being a point forward type of guy, he fits phenomenally with small ball teams. In addition, this team could offer teams a true big man as they have Kwame Brown on an affordable 2-year deal. I'm a big fan of Xavier Brown as being their new man up. You know, Slurp's a good GM entering a rebuild here. I look for him to capitalize big time on the value he has. Next up here, we got Edmonton. Ainsley's team, bad progs for their stars, Rudolph, O'Keefe, and Worthy. But, I mean, frankly, I think they got a pretty good deal on Worthy. They got picks and really just got a better player and gave up depth. But we'll see how... Shoot. I know who they did the deal with. Chicago. We'll see how Chicago progged with all of their guys. Magic Bird goes up big time. Dominic Harrison, you love to see that prog on a good deal. Both these guys, great deals now. Jeff Denmark goes up big time. You guys know it. It's happening. He's now Norway. Anytime you can make a Norway reference, it's good. Ronnie McGillen, another one of the McGillen brothers. Stanley Brown. You know, they got some good progs here from prospects, which is really what you want when you're rebuilding. And they got a lot of value in that Worthy trade there, pick-wise. If I'm them, I'm pretty excited long-term for this team. Taking a look at Detroit, David Manning goes down. You don't want to see it, but they might be a top 2 team in the East. Janine goes up, becoming a real star. He's on a great deal. They have Nobby still. Granted, he does go down a little bit. Willie Wright goes down a little bit. But then Thor Hooks Jr. living up to his daddy. His daddy's the only player to die in ABA history. And he's now a superstar, potentially. He could bust, but potentially a superstar. Epithet going up. I'm a big fan of his skill set long term. I think he is one of the most underrated players in the league. Honestly, if I'm Detroit, I'm happy with these progs. Hale's doing a great job with this team. Frankly, I think that they are the next dynasty probably in the league. Definitely deserved GM of the year last year. Denver. Dalton Miller goes up. Kevin Nando goes up big time. I said that was the worst contract in the league. I guess that's what I get. Didi just showing me up here. But what else do you expect from Didi? Good progs from Nick Farmer, Joe Collins, and such. Jeremiah Strong goes down, but that's not really too bad a loss. Honestly, Didi, you got good progs, man. You're a good GM. Capitalize off of it. Make the playoffs next year. I think they're close. I think they're going to try to tank to get a star, like a true superstar. Maybe Hopkins is that guy. Didi was a big fan of Hopkins. That defensive IQ right there, he's an undersized big man, but that DIQ, it's killer. 3.7 steals and 2.3 blocks as a rookie. I mean, the dude's an absolute defensive beast. So we'll see how Didi uses him. Also, Dalton Miller. I'm a big fan of both of the Miller brothers. Somebody needs to, Ocean, make note, or somebody make a note for Ocean in mod chat, please, because I think he might have popped off. Dalton Miller and Dalston Miller need to be made brothers. I'm a big fan of both of their skill sets as quality forwards here. Last season was a good year. I think this will be a great year for Dalton Miller to cement himself as a franchise caliber all-star player. Kind of like, trying to think, almost like a Corey Maggette type. Maybe a little bit better on the threes. Dallas. Dwight Schrute progging up big time. Big Z progging up big time. Not too bad progs from some of their role players here. They might stay in the playoffs, guys. They're going to be right on the border. I think everyone liked that. Yeah, that was a meme reference. Reed Phelps goes up. Tahib Hooks, the other brother, going up big time. J.B. Walker going up big time. Even though Sam Adams progged down, these are really good progs for him. Granted, Rob Archer also lost pot. But, they had some really strong progs here. Nathan Thomas becoming a tradable asset, potentially. But, man, you got to look at the guys they get that are supposed to be established future stars. Just do not work out on this team. TN is just constantly cursed. But he will have to spend some money before the season starts. So, Cincinnati. LaMelo going up. This is a small ball team here. Or LaMelo goes down. My bad on that. Dalston goes up big time. Both Miller brothers actually played for Cincy briefly. Billy Bogues goes up. The Vort going up big time. They might not do small ball with the Vort going up that much. Patrick Sullivan going up. Oh no. Coronavirus has gone down. Simone Amoroso going up a sizable amount. KCP goes up a bit. Honestly, with the exception of Chris Paul Jr., Coronavirus, and Garrett Jennings going down, you got to be happy with these. I mean, LaMelo stayed where he was. Since he's going to be a top 3 team in the East this year, they're going to probably, I'd say Detroit is probably my favorite. Number 2 is probably Montreal. 3, Cincy? I think that's my rankings in the East. I forgot all about Chicago, apparently. Wow. Look at those progs. I hope Juwan John watches this because, man, one of the best progs of this offseason. He had a strong offseason as a whole. That depth trade, it worked out well. They traded away a guy that was a pretty big part of their team. And, the big pieces they got for him, pulling them up now for you guys, the big pieces they got for him all worked out fairly well. Saquon being the biggest one. He's a great fit for their team. They are a small ball team running Isaiah Thomas, Dr. J, Gale, Steinix, all really more small forward or smaller. Only Dixon's a big man for them, and he's a small power forward. But potentially Schuler could start. I don't know about that. Maybe Boucher. He's also small or short. They're both undersized big men. But this team could be really strong. Small ball is apparently the way to go. Keevan's team. Alex Moore stays the same. Jeremy Walker is having phenomenal progs. Man, I hope he gets active because he is becoming a force in the league. And looking at Charlotte here, Darius Stokes going up, Ty Goldberg going up, Gregory Hawkins going up big time. I mean, look at these progs right here. This is one of the best prospect-oriented progs I have ever seen. Hey, look, the other Michael Guillen. Maybe we should just randomly kill one of the two of them. Like, just have one of them just die off. Yeah. Hey, do you guys know... Someone in the comments earlier was like, I hope you say my name. Do you guys know if I said his name? Do you guys know what team he is? I hope I did. I hope this is still going pretty well for you guys. And if it is, leave that in the comments section. Alright, next up here, Carolina. TJ goes down. Bala Williams goes down. But hey, they got some good progs here. Miguel DeLuna progging up. TJ Kumar joins the team. They might go big ball. As of right now, they don't got a point guard starting. And frankly, looking at their bench here, they actually released Rand Spinall, so I can cut him real quick. I missed that. They don't got a real point guard on their roster. Man, I hope they make some moves to pick one of the many quality free agents up with their 50 million cap. All right, Boston. They got 30 million cap. Granted, he will want a max. Mike Dowling is now one of the most sought-after players in the league, but they get great progs from Josh Jones. Mike going up big time. This team had a phenomenal season last year, and they're probably going to be in the top 4 in the East. In my opinion, they're right now the 4th seed, maybe 5th. They're a really good team. They played well last year, and they got some solid progs here. Sam Johnson, how high is his... Oh my god, he's maxed out at 100, and he's now developing an offensive game. He's going to be like James Posey. That was a Celtics player on the 08 championship squad. Some bad progs from some of the older players on their team, and a couple low-tier prospects, but overall you got to be pretty happy if you're their squad. These were good progs, especially for Dowling, who's now one of the best guards and best wings, really, in the league. Bosnia, 40 crashes. This was one of the most hyped players in league history, and he just will not live up to his potential. He'll probably go down as last season or the year before being his big year, and that is a huge disappointment for Irfan. You hate to see it. Ryan Shelton goes up a bit. Chris Posey and Jack Burris both going up. But damn, that's a loss. The Behemoth Banks goes up too. Could be a high PER player, but the rebuild is underway in Bosnia. Next up here we got Belgrade Red Star. Rares Ola stays the same. Jesse King goes up. This is another one of those really strong backcourts here. Wolfenbarger and Kane Neal are both undersized for their positions, but frankly, I think this is a pretty strong, smaller ball team. They're probably not playoffs, but if they had some depth, they could be. We'll see what M-Process and crew do. Beijing Olympians. Chauncey Billups goes down, but Clarence Matthews becomes... I don't think his contract is in correctly. Somebody want to take a look at that? Pretty sure his Oh, no, because his contract is a rookie deal that got expired. Yep, never mind. That makes sense. Tracy McGrady, Clarence Matthews, both going up big time. This might be their year. Beijing might be a really solid team in the West. Finally. I'm actually pretty glad to see Jay Kumar's team finally doing well. I know he's a good GM, and unfortunately it doesn't look like Billy's going to be a big part of that, but we'll see. Atlanta. We're getting down to the last few teams here. This team they're going to get some auto contracts, man, and this team just struggling a little bit. They need some help. We'll see. And Anaheim, Ocean Man's first team. They got 6 cuts they're going to have to make by the start of the season. Nigel Meehan only got 2 years left on his deal. Frankly, this is not that bad a team. It's actually going to be pretty exciting. They have a really, really fun starting lineup that just does not pass. They have no passers on that team. I guess Oscar Willis could pass, maybe Corey Hendricks, but they got a lot of options. Obviously, we'll see. Oh, and they got Reggie. All right, next up here, the last team, Alaska. They lost Jacobs. They got cap space, but Wes White, Lonzo Ball, they got that good backcourt. They don't got much up front now. Real thin up front. I could see Chestnut playing a big role this season. I don't know if that's what they want. So we'll see how Alaska does. So with that, we'll take a look here at power rankings and make our predictions. In the West, we have by far the favorite to win the league. Over 25 points higher than the next highest team, Minnesota, obviously going to win it all. This is one of those years. It's like when the Warriors were so good and everyone wanted them to lose. Well, everyone wants Minnesota to lose now. Who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky with an injury. I mean, you never want to see an injury, but this isn't a real sport, so injuries are just part of the game. Nobody suffers. I mean, except for the GM, of course. Snohomish, but then there's a big drop-off. Here's the next batch of teams that are going to be battling for that. So you got a really deep East now. The East, next year, the East is going to be an absolute unit. Now, with small ball becoming a thing, the three-pointer is obviously a big thing. Minnesota, Tampa Bay, Syracuse, Charlotte, Cincy, and Utah. Utah is the only one of those teams outside the top 15, and after them comes Los Angeles. Taking a look, meanwhile, at height. So the worst height teams include Chicago, Boston, Charlotte, Minnesota, Detroit. All top teams. Those are the lowest height. And taking a look at rebounding, aside from the last two, you got a 10 and 8 in that range. You know, a big team could potentially knock off Mini, but we'll see how this goes. All right, and with that, the last thing we're going to take a look at here is the highest ratings in the league. The 80s club is just McGillen. McDowell is the third highest rated player in the league at 73. The drop-off is massive now. Milwaukee has now a top 3 player. That is absolutely insane. Obviously, PER is a little bit different here, but we'll see how that is. Anyway. Now that we've wrapped up the principal part here, we're just going to hop around a few teams to take a look at as requested. First up is Cincy. We'll take a real quick look at Cincy's team. Looking at Cincy here, you got LaMelo, you got Dalston Miller. Pretty solid team overall. I'm a big fan. Granted, Corona went down. And now we'll take a look at Paris. They're the other team that was requested. And we'll get this export out. I'm pretty hyped, dudes. Alright, so there you can see Paris. And with that, I think I'm going to actually bring this to a close. The best rookie would probably be either Jolly Green or Litmus or potentially Dante Robinson. Anyway, with that, guys, I hope you all have a great day. Have a good snowstorm if you're in New England like me. And enjoy Baby Yoda there. Yeah. Peace out.